Each of us carries a unique light, an inner spark made of our experiences, wisdom, kindness, and creativity. It's not always loud or dazzling, but it's powerful. Sharing your light means showing up authentically, offering compassion when it's needed most, and using your gifts to uplift others. It's about choosing courage over comfort, generosity over silence, and hope over cynicism.
Hello again. Good evening, everybody. We're here back on Sharing Your Light with CMG. I'm CMG, also known as Chris. And so on this, show, we try to talk about the passion, the light that's within us, and how we can share that and build community by recognizing the light that's in us and recognizing the light in others. And I wanted to start off with a scripture, Philippians 2:4. Let each of you think let each of you look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others. So I thought that would be fitting for today because we have someone who works in the community, someone who I know very well is my cousin, and I think he's waiting to be let in. Yep, I think that's him right there. So if he just come in, and I'll introduce you to him. Hey, Damir, how's it going? How you feeling?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Glad to be here. This is an amazing platform. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking out time out your busy schedule because I know it gets busy. It feels like you're always doing something.
Probably an understatement at this point.
Probably, yeah. But so just to give the people a little spiel, you said you have your tag as a community-based professional. What kind of do you do on the day-to-day or with your group? Yeah, give you an elevator pitch real quick.
Okay, so my name is Dave Moore. I've been in nonprofit management as well as the nonprofit space for about 14 years. Back in 2022, we started Tribal Innovations, which is a community first, impact driven, and motivated team designed to really help aid and support the community and not just recycling the same dollar, but how to promote equitable change and how to promote real solutions and not just temporary solvents to ongoing problems. So we work with the community directly, whether it's anti-violence or disability services or in workforce general development. We kind of do it all and partner with the nonprofit space in particular to build capacity as well as tap into untapped resources and expand that net impact.
Nice. Thank you. And so you said you started back in 2022, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. And how could you tell us kind of how this came to be? How did you recognize that this was something that needed to come into fruition?
Of course. So, when you're working in the nonprofit space, you see a lot of things for better or for worse, kind of thing. Where everybody is really trying and fighting for that same dollar. And just a little bit about that. The city of Philadelphia is a nonprofit city. So that same dollar gets cycled not one time, not two times, but three, four, five, six times. People don't realize that recently Independence Blue Cross, I think it was in 2014, 209, something like that, is now a nonprofit. You have the city grants, you have UPenn who competes. You have these really large mega conglomerates that are really trying to, and striving to get the money, to do the work. But then you have the little guy who's not being advocated for, who doesn't maybe have a bunch of money or a bunch of resources to tap into. So that's what we're really trying to do is synergize those resources to match the need and that impact. And it started from something very small, and we're scaling every day and learning every day.
Nice. You're just getting out there. See, you see the need for community, you see the need in the community, and it sounds like you're just, being that change that needs to happen. I got to commend you for that because there's not a lot of people fighting for you, like you said, the little guy. And so with you fighting for that dollar, how hard is the fight, would you say, being on the front lines and doing what you do?
I'm not gonna lie, especially recently, the fight has gotten a lot harder because we are 100, almost 100% needs based. When you look at what's going on in the ecosystem, you have school districts scrounging for pennies, you have nonprofits who are shutting down operations, and you have youth and young adults looking for a way out of a system that is almost intentionally designed against them. The fight gets harder every day, and there are some days where I'm just like I don't know where to go. You know, you're almost at a loss for words by how much change needs to happen and how much needs to be corrected. But as somebody who's been in this work, who continues to be in this work, and will do anything to fight for this work, as well as the communities, and especially the communities that have given so much back to me, you know, it like I said, it gets harder every single day, but that doesn't mean you stop fighting. It means you fight harder. It doesn't mean that those lessons you've learned early on are
Mhm.
lessons forgotten. It just means they're benchmarks on your journey and stepping stones to where you're going. I mean, you read a beautiful scripture to begin with when you consider the story of even Moses. You know that path charted
Mhm.
wasn't easy.
Right.
But the reality is, those steps needed to be taken nonetheless.
Exactly. So you're kind of saying that, someone needs to do the work, someone needs to be in the fight, and you have no trouble being in that fight. So that would liken yourself to a leader. And I know it's not just you out there, you have your team. So would you say that you've always found yourself to be a leader? And if not, how did you find yourself coming into that role? And how can you motivate your people to, continue to do this fight with you when it seems so hard?
So I would say I accidentally fell in leadership.
Became too important at work. I understand.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things where it's like it's not bargained for, but it's like I'm already here, might as well do something
Hmm.
about it.
Yeah.
You know, and growing up, you see people, you know, go through their strife and really fight. But it's different from being in that leadership capacity and saying, "Hey, I'm not reliant on anybody. I am the change maker and the difference maker in these people's lives." And again,
Mm.
you fall into it accidentally. So it's nothing intentional about it. Just,
Yeah.
hey, I'm out here doing more good. I know that's
Okay.
a motto somewhere. I can't remember where, but you're out here doing more good, doing the work, and naturally you become an expert in certain capacities. Again, whether it's disability services, workforce development, what have you, and it, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. It was accidental, but
Yes. I got you. I
I love
got
it and wouldn't change it for the world.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I know finding these people it's hard. I feel as though when you're doing something good and you're doing it for the right reasons, sometimes it's hard to get that backing. It's hard to keep up that energy. But I think it's better when you have people to help you out. So you do have, you have a board with your company, and how do they motivate you? How do you motivate each other? I'll say.
So when you are, like I said, the work gets harder every single day. And
Hmm.
some people can't see the fights happening behind closed doors.
Right.
And especially when you're in survival mode, you see everybody as the enemy, and anything but the immediate resolve being that of another thing stacked against you. Um, I can say if it weren't for my incredible team, and I have three teams, but in three different companies. But if it weren't for my incredible team, honestly, I would not be able to continue this work.
Yeah.
Not only is this work difficult, um, But when you are doing it and folks are, consistently throwing their, what have you on them,
Mhm.
and you internalize that problem, you have to ensure you're taking care of yourself, one, but you also have to ensure that you are really advocating for these folks. And sometimes that's not easy when you're constantly being, you feel like your back's constantly against the wall, essentially.
Exactly.
And because of the incredible team I have with me, I'm able to
Mhm.
say, okay, let's push past this. Let me walk into these rooms and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Let me advocate in creative ways in spaces. Let me try to do something new that before wasn't done. Because I make um, no apology of who I am and the path in which I've carved. But I also understand that in the current climate we're in, we need real change.
Yeah.
And that change isn't out of it's not cookie cutter, it's not out of a perfect box.
Right.
We are legitimately carving spaces. And that's kind of what you need now. And without that push behind you, without that foundation, that solid foundation, again, you continue to fall into the same cycles you're trying to help people out of.
Exactly. And I see that's why you're probably called Tribal Innovations. You're trying to continue to change the game, make it more palatable to those around you as well as yourself, because we don't want to always be fed the same, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you won't be able to be here, you won't be able to surpass your circumstances. But
Yeah.
you're basically saying that you have to pick yourself up and say, I will be in those spaces, and there's
Yeah.
nothing that can stop me from being in those spaces. And it's better to find like-minded individuals to help you as well. So I definitely commend you for that, because I can tell it's very difficult, especially in like you said, the climate that we're in.
Every day. But you know what? And I do want to just mention too, because you brought up a good point. You mentioned the name, and everything you said is absolutely correct.
Mhm.
And I'll also tack on, um, tribal innovations was built out of an idea, and the idea was Ubuntu, which comes from the Zulu language, and it loosely translates into "I am because you are." When you think about what a tribe is, often people think about my family, my neighbor, but it's really that found family.
Mhm.
That can include your family, that it could include your friends, it can include the professor, it includes so many people, because like when, as you said, when like minds come together, you build a more resilient community in yourself and around you. And if more people are able to find those safe havens, those tribes of their own making, they can manifest their own destinies positively, creatively, and unapologetically.
That sounds beautiful. You have a real politician's, what would you call that? Rhetoric, I guess you'd say. You just got me
What is
tuned in.
that intentional? I'm sorry.
So, hey, no, keep that on, keep that on. Sometimes you need an advocate, doing what you do. Speaking of, so with trying to build that community, how or which communities have you been able to positively affect, I'll say, around the city? Or would you just say you touch everywhere?
We are our reach is interesting. So when we consider what tribal innovations is, we're solutions based,
Yeah.
community first. And what that translates loosely into is we have three different buckets. Either you're a community investment, you're a business to business solution, or you're something creative and new in the space of need that we're trying to tap into or rally around. So when you consider the communities or those we've impacted, you can say folks in the anti-violence work that the city is currently doing, as
Mhm.
well as those impacted by violence in their communities. But you can also say a lot of nonprofits are impacted by our work right now. And not all of the work we're doing currently has tribal's name on it. We are understanding of the fact that I and my team, or my team and I, let me be grammatically correct.
Hey.
My team and I, we're out here in the community all the time. And sometimes, even when we're not doing the work as a unit, individually, our impact and our connection to the greater whole matters. Our work matters. Our reach matters. How we're engaging positively matters. One of the things that we do is every other month we're out in the community doing volunteer work, whether we're cleaning up a community garden in North Philly, volunteering at I'll say the name of the organization, Books Through Bars, or helping pack bags and lunches for those in need, likely facing poverty or unfortunate circumstances. We've had that opportunity and that experience, and we're just trying to expand it now. So our reach, or our net, is pretty large, but we're still working on not even necessarily centralizing, but how do we tap into that in an even more powerful, impactful way?
Right. Because I think you alluded to it a bit earlier, even if you're not all together, or you're not under the umbrella of Tribal Innovations, your work still matters, even if it's just the individual. And I think that is how we build community, and I think that's how you share your light. Just nod to the show that we're on. You're finding that you can have that change, you can be that change if you have that fire within to do so. And once you can connect that light with others, you continue to grow and grow until you have a raging fire of positive change, positive impact that you want to do. You want to get out there and be what you want to see, if that makes sense. So I say thank you for continuing to be out there, because I know it's not always easy. We have so many other things that we could be doing, but you find it in your heart, you find it in your will to continue to help those who may not be able to help themselves, or who strive to help themselves but just don't have the resources, because a lot of times we see people falling to the wayside, and you're just trying to cut that gap, close that gap. So you're doing good work. I believe you, or did you want to speak on that? But I was going to say, I believe you just had a bigger event, an inaugural event, maybe a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we actually partnered with PHMC as well as the city of Philadelphia in their recent and concurrent with the efforts of Mayor Sherelle Parker. We partnered with them to host a growth summit, which was all centered around purpose and finding that purpose. Many folks in our communities, I remember growing up and a lot of folks are like, oh yeah, I want to be a millionaire. But that wasn't their purpose. It was a conduit of that desire, And for many people who attain that wealth, whether easily or through trial and error, it's not worth it at the end, or they feel disconnected by that reward. As a society, as a people, we're very rewards based. We're always trying to chase a bag, or chase the nice, flashy, shiny things. It's like, once we get it, then what?
Yeah.
When you have a purpose and a path in life, we find studies have shown that you are not only a more positive individual in your community, you are able to really champion and steward your journey and others around you. Again, going into that tribal mindset, you're bringing many with you who surround you, and you are who. What is it? How does that saying go? You are who you surround yourself with, essentially.
Yes. That's along those lines. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals.
Thank you. There we go.
You're the company you keep. birds of a feather flock together. You know, you can keep
Thank
going.
you.
You can keep
That one.
yeah. Okay, I feel you on that. So how would you say one finds their passion, or how did you find your passion? And can you think that could like translate to how others kind of see that for themselves? Because I feel like once we know our purpose or our passion, then we're able to move forward a bit more confidently. We aren't so deterred by our setbacks that come. We can just move past them knowing that we're still doing what we need to do, even if it doesn't look like it. Because, like you said, we are rewards based, but it's like the bar continues to move every time we hit that bar, or even if we aren't able to hit that bar, it gets moved in a different direction. So, how do you stay at that core of, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and how do you find that?
I think by doing the work, and I know that that sounds easier said than done,
Mm-hmm.
but you really have to do the work. And whether that's having conversations with yourself. I used to have a wall of affirmations. When you walked into my apartment, you were met with two things: a mirror, and around that mirror, you were met with individual affirmations. I am statements. I am strong. I am wise. I am the future. I am driven. I am passionate. I am.
Okay.
Once you understand who you are, once you've done the work of understanding the traumas and traumas, trials, and tribulations you've been through in your life,
Mm-hmm.
your path becomes a lot clearer. Because if you're constantly working in survival, all you can do is push. If
Mm.
you're constantly working with your if you're constantly working in survival, if you're constantly working with your trauma, all you can do is push past yesterday, hoping for brighter tomorrows. Once you do that work, whether with yourself, through affirmations, conversations, or therapy,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, a lot becomes clearer. But it doesn't start, none of it starts if you silo 100%. You're not talking outwardly. I'm not
Right.
just saying sit down in a corner and just talk to yourself. No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
like if you're not outwardly talking to yourself, if you're not actually listening, if you're not actually listening to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
um, and if you're not championing who you are and who you want to be, you're it becomes harder. It
Yeah.
really becomes harder. But yeah, I believe that's how you find your purpose, is doing the work.
Doing the work. But you said a lot of good things about that. And just trying to fill your cup, as they say, because you can't outpour if you're not pouring into yourself. And if you're operating off of a deficit, because like you said, you're always in survival, it's like a little tiny piece gets chipped away each time, and you're never putting yourself back together. So I like what you said about having those affirmations, going to talk to others, helping, listening to how they see you, going to therapy, being able to do that work and finding out how you see yourself. I would also throw in there, praying, talking to God,
Mhm.
just trying to see what He wants for you and how He sees you. He loves you, and trying to find that love for yourself. I think it's something that we all definitely struggle with. We've also personally, we've had our talks about that. But it's all about once you become less scared of finding
Yeah.
out who you are, you become more confident in being who you are, and so you can step forward in that direction, and it it's worth it. It's worth it. It's becoming more worth it, I'll say, because obviously the work never is finished, but you just got to keep it pushing.
My long shot. Yeah, and you said one word,
Mhm.
like everything with. I agree with everything you said, but
Yeah,
becoming is an art form and beautiful. And
yeah,
once you see who you are, champion who you are, fall in love with who you are, the sky's the limit.
it's like they say, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works.
Mhm.
So you just want to You want to shine as bright as you can.
Whoa.
And just touching on that, so because I've known we talked about, you said you started this company in about 2022, but I feel as though we've talked about this idea stemming from way when you were way younger. And so, could you talk a little bit about how you came up with that idea from back then? And also, how do you feel about that kid that was coming up with this being who you are now? And then how someone else who may be a kid that age may be, trying to find themselves and what they want to do. Any advice for them? You take it step by step. I feel like I hit you with a lot right there, but
Well, you're good.
yeah.
I'll say about that kid. Um, I will say never give up is what I would tell myself back then because I
Mm.
used to think I am crazy. What is wrong with me? Like I listen, as a kid, I would be sitting there, whether I'm in the hallway singing with my best friend,
Mhm.
or if I'm not in the hallway singing with my best friend, I'm sitting at a lunchroom table writing out a business plan.
Yeah.
My my first business plan was written in third grade. It was
Ooh.
originally,
Come on, boss baby.
listen, listen. It originally was going to be CAD, CAD Industries, and originally we were going to have this game, and we were going to do this and that, and then it changed into me saying, you know what, I'm going to put this down for a second. I was doing a lot of research
Hmm.
at the time on pollution, environmental degradation, which is always so important to me, and the processes to make a more uh, uh, a more not just society in terms of the people, but environmentally conscious, friendly, and current society. Um, so we started the EPA, and I was in, I want to say, fifth grade when we created our own home-based EPA, and I would during lunchtime go out in Tacony
Hmm.
and clean up trash around the schools, clean up around the school, under the train, the old train that was defunct at that time,
Hmm.
in the park. We would literally go out there with the teacher. And so with that, I'll say there's a lot changing around me. And again, for that kid who I was and still am, because I'm consistent in the sense that I've always been community first and impact driven, thinking about how do I positively leave an impact on this world. And especially for me, growing up as a black man in Philadelphia, you're constantly fighting to um, uh, you're constantly fighting not to be another statistic.
Right. Exactly.
And that's one of the first conversations you have when you're younger is essentially don't be that and how not to be that. Don't do this and don't do that.
Right.
And my, I think, vice growing up for that positive outlet, again, was how do I help the community? How do I tap in? How do I do more? Again, do more good.
Nice. And I would say, so someone else that's in your shoes, what would you say to them? Or a kid that would be at that younger age, what would you say if they're thinking about, being better or not trying to be a statistic? What would you say to them?
Live your life for you, um, not for the tomorrow, but for the today. Um, we will build together stronger for every day, not just those that, everybody goes back to history and what happened in the past. While
Mhm.
I agree you must learn from your past, two, if you're not building tomorrow today, you are always stuck in that cycle. So when you're thinking about where you want to be in 5, 10, 15 years, remember that work starts now. It starts by embracing your today. It starts by doing the work. It starts by embracing fully, completely who you are. You know, especially now when the work, like I said, in my capacity, is becoming harder for youth and young adults. I've went to several discussions, and hearing some of their testimonies, their stories, and what they go through now. And we thought it was bad when we were in school. Now it was, but
Hey.
it's a little different now.
Yeah.
Especially with the advent. I'm not even going to say advent. That's not the appropriate word. But just how much technology has been incorporated in every single space.
So essentially, to those that want to be better tomorrow, you want to constantly live in the today, thinking about your yesterday while building on your tomorrow. Basically,
Exactly.
appreciate that. Before we go, because we're running out of time, I just want to say, and I know clearly you're busy. That phone been dinging this whole time.
I thought I muted it. I'm really bad.
And bro, you're my cuz. Like I know how you get down. So at all. But I just want to give you a chance to, tell if you have any upcoming events where people can, follow you or see your work or anything like that. So you have the floor for that right now, man.
I appreciate you for this opportunity. So we're getting ready to unveil our end of 2025. Really, it's our 2026 calendar. So definitely check out our website, check out our events page. We have a lot upcoming. We're going to do more talkbacks, more conversations, more tap-ins with our community. And we are a for-profit with a purpose. The reason we chose not to be a nonprofit is, again, we're trying to prevent the same cycle of dollars, and we're trying to build capacity. So if we can give back a dollar, if we can shed a dollar, and if we can expand that dollar, we're going to do it. So come out, check in, tap in. We're here. We're here to stay. So that's what I would say.
I love it. This man, get this man a mic. He's talking that talk. But again, cuz I appreciate you for being on. Love you, man, and thank you. We'll definitely be looking out for what you're doing next, and hopefully we can have you come back and tell some more about what you've done, and how you've been that change. So I appreciate you again. Thank you.
As do I. Thank you.
No problem. And